New Zealand. I still haven't figured that out yet. And it's Facebook Live. And this week's Facebook Live is to talk about the topic, what am I missing? What am I missing? You know, I'm doing everything I can think of to be healthy. What am I missing? And that's what the Base Hits program is all about. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to answer your questions so you can type them in and let me know where you're from. It gives me a thrill to know that we're reaching people all over the world with these Facebook Lives. And send me some hearts because it empowers me to keep rolling, you know, when I get on a roll. So I'm going to start by just doing a couple shout outs. Anne's here from San Francisco. Laura from our team is here from Oregon. Hey, Laura. Ursula's in Seattle. Wanda's in Long Island. Rhonda's in South Carolina. Melody's in Sacramento. Quincy's in Iowa. Thanks, Quincy. Says, love these weekly chats. Thanks so much. And oh, look at all the hearts. Oh, thank you. That's really nice. Patty's here from Pennsylvania. Cynthia's from Ottawa, Ontario. Quincy asks a question. Have you published anything around the C vaccine? I'd love to read or hear your insight on this. You can inbox me if this isn't a good topic for this evening. Thanks, Doc. And no, Quincy, I've not written anything about it because there appears to be a lot of politics around doctors expressing their confusion, and then they get blacklisted and knocked off of Facebook and YouTube, and it's really quite remarkable what's happening. You know, our friends in London, we were talking to them yesterday, and they said there was a huge march in London on my wife just came outside the window with our baby just to make faces at me. So it's very cute. There was a huge march in London yesterday, and the estimates are somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million people walking through London, peacefully protesting. And not one newspaper had an article about it. That just doesn't make any sense unless there's some kind of politics around all of this, you know. And so I've avoided that. But my friends, Professor Aristo Vojdani, and that's spelled Bojdani, Vojdani, and Datis Karazian, Kharazzian, they published a paper a couple of months ago demonstrating that antibodies to this vaccine, so when you get a vaccine, your body makes antibodies to fight whatever they injected into you, right? Antibodies to this vaccine cross-react with human tissue at tremendously high rates, over 50%. Some of them were 70%, depending what tissue they were looking at. What does that mean? It's the mechanism that develops autoimmune diseases, is when you make antibodies to your own brain or to your own joints or to your own heart tissue. You develop an autoimmune disease of your brain or your joints or your heart. And that paper, and they're very well-known researchers and meticulously written paper, is just jaw-dropping. And what that means, what are the potential complications of getting this vaccine? What are I'm not saying I'm against the vaccine. I'm not saying I'm for the vaccine. I'm saying we don't have enough information yet for this, especially with a vaccine that's never been used in humans before. They're messing with our genetic structure, and I just don't know enough to have a strong opinion either way on it. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to be evasive, but you can get that paper online. Just Google Vojdani and antibodies, and it should pop right up for you. Let's see. Connie's from San Francisco. Dorada's in New York. Hi, Dorada. Luann's here from Aurora, Colorado. Kim, let's see. Kim had a question and it just scooted somewhere. Robin's here from Reno. Deb's in New York. Amal says, hi, Dr. Tom. Will Mary Agnes be letting those of us who took the recent set of classes about the special price of which you spoke in the last class? Thank you. Mary Agnes will answer that question. She'll type the answer in here.
We'll get a special email out to alumni tomorrow, Dr. Tom, if they want to take the all 4 of the series. If they want to take just the next one, grab this price. For the first 100 people, it's only $97. So
Great,
the
great.
voice from beyond.
The voice, the voice, the voice. Kim asks, is testing included with base hits or is that additional? That's additional, Kim. If there's tests that you want to do and you can ask me one week, the questions are, I've got this, and this, what would you do? And I would say, well, I'd probably check this and this, and here's how you can do that. And then you'll come back for session 3 or 4 and say, here are my results from that test. What do you think? So this is not the program where we're including the testing and the interpretations and the recommendations. This is really a program to tweak the paradigm, tweak the way that one person is thinking about their health, is thinking about your health, and what are you missing? What direction or line of thinking do you have to open up to find the answer to get you to the next phase of higher levels of health? Because there's something you're missing. Because people who are here, who follow these types of events, who follow us, they want to be healthy. And I've not experienced anyone that really does not want to be healthy that's here. Lots of people don't want to do what they have to do to be healthy because they don't quite understand how to do it. Our theme here, and it's why the theme at theDr.com is making it easy to do the right thing. So my job is to make it as easy as possible for you to do what the next step is in your health journey. And in 40 years, I've learned a lot of tricks of, how to minimize the discomfort or accelerate the results and things like that. Amal says, okay, no, I read that one. Robin's in Reno, the link to the Base Hits program is posted here. Thanks so much. Let's see. Hello, Amal, we have discount. Okay, and Mary Agnes answers that. Kathleen's here from Michigan. Lisa says, Google what? Can someone please type it here? Yes, Mary Agnes will find the article. Mary Agnes, it's Dr. Bojdani and Karazian, and it's on, let's see, I just sent the answer a couple of days ago because someone else asked the question, what's the article? And I sent it to info at theDr.com. So they've got the actual study. And before the end of this Facebook Live, we'll post the link to the study for you. So people can, and it's really geeky stuff to read, but you can, what? Really? And I'm not sure this is the exact number. I don't remember all of the individual tissues, but 58% of the people that get the vaccine run the risk of developing antibodies to myelin. What? Myelin, isn't that antibodies to myelin? Isn't that what causes MS? Yes. What? It's that kind of information. So we'll post the link to the study for you. Let's see. Connie says, would like to know what are the dates that the other 3 sessions will be. I'm very interested, but do have travel during which I will not have any access to internet. You've got lifetime access to this, Connie. So if you can't make the live event, you can type in your questions ahead of time and we'll get to them. And then you can watch it at your leisure. Maggie says, I try to watch every week. Thanks, Maggie. You and I both. I try to be here every week. So between the two of us, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Okay, so yeah, you're welcome, Connie. So if you guys have questions to start with, type them in here. And Mary Agnes, we've got some questions that I didn't get to last time. Maybe you can post a few in here. In the meantime, I'm going to just start to address a little of what this Base Hits is and what these sessions are about. So when you understand that our birthright is to be in parasympathetic dominance, and for many of you that's geek talk right now, it won't be after you watch session 2. But parasympathetic dominance is when we're relaxed, we have deep, slow breathing. That's one. That's two. Some of you remember, I've talked about my friend, Dr. Pedram Shojai, in one of his books. He recommended set your alarm for every waking hour. And when the alarm goes off, turn it off, set it for the next hour, and then just take 5 deep breaths. If you're in the midst of cooking, take 5 deep breaths while you're cooking. If you're in the midst of driving, take 5 deep breaths while you're driving. If you're in the midst of doing something on your computer, take 5 deep breaths while you're still working on your computer. You don't have to stop what you're doing. And if you do that every hour for one day, just for one day, notice how you feel by the end of the day and what your sleep is like that night. Wow, I slept better. Just notice. And then you say, oh yeah, I should breathe more often. And the answer is you think, of course. And we'll talk about heart rate variability, which is a biomarker of how does your body respond to stress. And your heart rate is just you can't lie in your heart rate. It's going to tell you whether you are responding to stress well or whether stress is getting the better of you. And then we'll talk about, well, what do you do when you're not in parasympathetic dominance? How do you move in the direction of parasympathetic dominance? You only heal when you're in a parasympathetic dominant state, whatever the injury is, whatever tissue needs to regenerate, you only heal in a parasympathetic dominant state. And almost all of us, the only time we are in a parasympathetic dominant state is when we're in deep sleep. That's one reason why sleep is so important, critically important to your rejuvenation, your regeneration. You want to be younger? You have to build younger cells. You only build younger cells when you're in a parasympathetic dominant state. And you only build younger cells when you have the right material in the bloodstream so that when the foreman says, okay, I need some new cells over here, then you can grab the raw materials to make younger, stronger, healthier cells. And I'll show you the studies where they took kids with attention deficit who grew up on the standard American diet, and when they gave them fish oils, the good fats, because the vast majority of the membranes around every brain cell, that's the walls of every brain cell, is good fats. And if your children didn't get good fats in their diet, enough of them, you build your house out of straw instead of brick, which means you build the walls of your brain cells out of bad fats like French fries and trans fatty acids in baked goods. And you build your cells out of these bad fats. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, and some of you have heard me say this, I'm going to date myself now because when I was a kid, you go to the doctor, if they wanted a urine sample, you go in the bathroom and you pee in the cup. Then you take the cup and you put it on this little shelf on the wall, and the thing swings around. It's a lazy Susan. And it's, whoever's named Susan, I'm sorry, I don't know where that name came from, but that's the thing. And it swings around to the other room where the nurse is on the other side of the wall and takes a urine sample and runs whatever tests are going to run, right? Your brain cells communicate by lazy Susans in one brain cell membrane so that the chemicals come out of that brain cell and go into the next lazy Susan brain cell membrane into that brain cell. And that brain cell changes the chemicals a little bit and sends it to the next one, into the next one, into the next one. So you have to have good communication between your brain cells. But when you build your house out of straw instead of brick, bad fats, because you didn't have enough good fats in your diet, your lazy Susans get rusty. They don't turn very well. You don't communicate brain cell to brain cell very well. And what's the end result of that? You get attention deficit, or you get autism, or you get depression, or you get anxiety. And when you read the study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, where they gave attention deficit hyperactivity disorder kids that can't sit still in school, they're on medications for all that. They gave them fish oils, the good fats. In 6 months, not only did their performance in school go up, but their dosing of medication went down. They didn't need the meds. Why? Because their brain cells were communicating. The good fats in the bloodstream push out the bad fats. You have an entire new body every 7 years. Every cell in your body regenerates, every cell. Some cells are really quick, some are really slow, but every cell regenerates. So what's the raw material for those cells to regenerate? And the only time you regenerate is when you're in a parasympathetic dominant state, which is why it's so important to learn what a parasympathetic dominant state is. So we talk about that in great detail. And then we talk about what do you put in the bloodstream to rebuild healthy brain cells? What do you put in the bloodstream to rebuild healthy adrenal glands? You know, these basic concepts make such a big picture difference in the results that you get. Okay, Steph says, any solutions to prevent nightmare, panic attack dreams at night during sleep? Yeah, that's a really good question, Steph. There are a number of triggers for that. And so I'll just list a couple of them. And if the first one doesn't work, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know, because there are a number of triggers that can set that off. First and most important, turn off the television 2 hours before you go to sleep. Maybe even have a nice hot bath. Maybe you put some essential oils in there. You light a couple of candles in the room so the bright lights in the bathroom aren't there, or you have a dimmer switch in the bathroom set up. Have a soaking bath. You know, put some Epsom salts in the bath. That's magnesium that gets into your muscles in an Epsom salt bath. And so a couple of hours, turn off the TV, just have a nice bath, maybe a cup of tea in the bathtub, and just go to sleep. And notice, how do you sleep? Are you still you still have nightmares? Okay. If you sleep better, more soundly, but you still have a nightmare, then the next thing you do is work on detox. That there is something that's triggering these visions, and there are many things that can do it. But first is turn off the television, stop the negative input that so many of us have. We watch the 10 o'clock or the 11 o'clock news about how many people are being murdered or where the earthquakes are and all the bad stuff that's happening in the world. And then we go to sleep and expect to relax and be peaceful, right? That doesn't happen. So turn that off, take a bath with the things I mentioned. And if that doesn't help, it might not turn it off completely, but if it's softer, do it a few nights in a row. If that doesn't help, the next thing is you have to detox. Is there a history of gut problems, bloating and gas, or bad breath, or you wake up with a bad taste in your mouth in the morning? You have to do some detoxing to get some of the poisons out of your bloodstream. Now, people have that he's exaggerating. No, poisons. Poisons mean cells function the way they're not supposed to. Now, it doesn't have to kill you, but it can make you really miserable. And so the first thing, take a bath. The second thing, detox. And part of detox, make sure you're hydrated. Count it out. Half ounce of water per pound body weight. If you weigh 120 pounds, that means 60 ounces of water. 60 ounces of water a day. Most people are not getting anywhere near that amount. I'm drinking all day long. And I thought I'd even mention this one here. What am I drinking here? And some of you have heard me talk about this. This is tonic water with a slice of lime, and then diluted with ice and regular water. So, and it's a light tonic water, meaning very little sugar. Some of you have heard the story about that. Why tonic water? Well, it's because of this virus. That's how I learned about it. And I'll tell you the story because this is the kind of thing I do in Base Hits. I tell lots of these kinds of stories. So in the 1800s, when the British were in India, a big fear was malaria. And how do you prevent malaria? Well, the locals would take the bark of a cinchona tree called the fever tree. They take the bark of that tree and they make a tea out of it and they drink it. And it knocks the fever out and it helps to stabilize and prevent malaria. So the British would take that cinchona tree bark elixir, but it was so bitter tasting, they made a tonic out of it. They added sugar water and a little bit of fruit to it. That's where the song came from. Just a little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down. True story. And they got permission to have a teaspoon of gin with this tonic. Thus was born the gin and tonic. I think it's a really cool story, but that's where gin and tonics came from. Because the cinchona tree, this fever tree, it has quinine in it. And quinine is the active ingredient in the bark of the tree that stimulates the immune system in our bodies to break a fever and to fight the virus. So that's where the drug hydroxychloroquine came from. It's a chemical copy of quinine that comes from the fever tree. So when I read that, I said, oh, great, I'm going to start drinking tonic water. My wife and I will start drinking tonic water as a preventive, because I know what the quinine does is it's a zinc ionophore, which means it escorts zinc inside the cell. And the more zinc that's inside your cell, the less chance the virus can get in there and shed. Viruses don't reproduce, they shed, but they don't shed in the presence of zinc. But it's hard to get zinc inside your cell, and you need a zinc ionophore to do that. Quinine is a really good zinc ionophore. So, but the problem with tonic water is it's so bitter, they add a lot of sugar to these commercial products. Well, and then many of them don't even add quinine. They do chemical copies. You read the ingredients on it, it better say quinine. It better say quinine. And I found that the company Fever Tree, just like the tree that the quinine comes from, Fever Tree, they've got 5 different tonic waters. They added some different flavors to it, I guess. So they have one called India, but the India Light, Light, is the one that has very low sugar. So we buy a case of the India Light tonic water. They're little bottles, and I do a half a bottle in here, bunch of ice, slice of lime, and fill it up with water. And this is what I drink during the day. Now, why am I telling you that? Because this is a base hit. It's not going to cure a viral infection by itself, but it's a base hit that's going to help you. And the more of these little base hits you learn and implement into your lifestyle, the stronger and healthier you get. Okay, Lena's watching. Hi, Lena. The PubMed article on fish oil has just been posted. Thank you, team. Oh, my Aunt Betty is watching. Hey. Hi. Oh, it brings tears to my eyes. I love you. I'm sorry that we're so far away, we don't get to see each other. Glad you're watching. Thank you so much. And then I see my team just posted the article from Dr. Vojdani and Dr. Karazian on the current global health crisis, and it's entitled Virus 9, I'm not going to say the word, Virus 19, Potential Antigenic Cross-Reactivity Between This Virus and Human Tissue with a Possible Link to an Increase in Autoimmune Diseases. So there's the link for you. It's a really geeky article, but when you read that, you do an OMG and you say, you know what? I need to learn more before I do this vaccine. Randall says, are there not harmful ingredients in Epsom salts? Not that I'm aware of, Randall. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any. Leanne asks, what does DQ8 homozygosity present mean on lab tests? Okay, you get one gene from your mother, one gene from your father on a particular gene topic. You know, we've got somewhere around 23 to 25,000 genes, but the gene that you have, half of it came from your mother, usually, half of it came from your father, usually. It depends on which one's more dominant. Homozygosity means you got them both. You got it from the same gene from your mother, the same gene from your father. And it means that gene is more likely to be active for you if it gets triggered. Now, in session 4, I think it is, I talk about genes. And you have to remember that the goal here is always to turn up the genes of anti-inflammation and regeneration and turn down the genes of inflammation and degeneration. Genes don't turn on and off. There's no on-off switch. Genes are on a dimmer switch. Have a guy here right now, an electrician, putting a dimmer switch on our lights over the dining room table. It's a dimmer switch. So you want to turn up bright the genes for anti-inflammation and turn down really as low as possible the genes for inflammation. You want genes for inflammation to be there because you get exposed to a bug, you need to form some inflammation to kill the bug. Or you cut yourself, you need to have that redness that you get around a cut as it's healing. That's inflammation, local inflammation, where your immune system is killing any bacteria that got in there. And that's good. You know, inflammation is not bad for you. Excessive inflammation is bad for you. So you want to dim down the genes of inflammation and turn up the genes of anti-inflammation. How do you do that? By what's in your environment. That determines, that's the hand on the dimmer switch. What's in your environment? Well, what do you mean? Well, what's on the end of your fork is the primary environmental trigger of what you put in your body. It's what's on the end of your food selections. That's why you always hear us talking so much about rainbow diet and about food selections and things. Really, really important. The air you breathe is the outside world coming inside. That's another environmental trigger that dims up genes or turns down genes. So it's your environment. And then the stress hormones you produce internally are another environmental trigger. It's an inside environmental trigger that activates genes for a particular pathway. So the goal here is to have all the base hits you can in your everyday life without going crazy on this. Unless you've been diagnosed with the disease, then you really need to focus and dial down aggressively. And the base hits program is about giving you that big picture view of all of it. Okay, let's move on. So DQ8 homozygosity means you've got the genes for celiac, and you've got it from your mother and your father. So, and not just celiac, but wheat-related disorders, meaning a sensitivity to wheat. So in a case like that, Leanne, you absolutely want to do the wheat Zoomer test. You can find it on our website. The wheat Zoomer is the best test in the world, and I've traveled the world. I look at laboratory catalogs in every symposium that I lecture at, so I know what they're offering, and there's no test like this anywhere in the world. The wheat Zoomer is the most comprehensive test available. And if you're homozygous for DQ8, you need to do the wheat Zoomer. Well, I'm gluten-free. Do the wheat Zoomer anyway, and you might be surprised by what you find. Suli Adams is watching. Hello, Suli. Maria says, I've taken your wonderful BASIS program almost a year ago. Will the curriculum be the same for the upcoming BASIS program, or will it be substantially different? It will be similar, but as you know, Maria, and thank you for the feedback. As you know, I'm just like downloading. So there's lots of things I forgot in the last base hits that may come up in this base hits. So it's not like I've got an encyclopedia that I'm reading line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. I'm just talking about what comes up from the deep caverns of this head of mine. And yes, there will be a lot of new things. There will be some old things. And I can promise you that you will hear things you've never heard before.
Dr. Tom,
Regularly. Yes.
this is also a very special base hits where we're going to shift and talk about, at your request, autonomic balance and the brain. So you'll be covering topics like anxiety, brain fog, fatigue, and food sensitivities on a much deeper level, insofar as how they affect brain functionality, productivity, mental cognizance. I think absolutely everybody should tune in for this base hits. I mean, I literally paid to attend because I wanted to make that commitment to myself.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I
Well,
know. So
thank
important. You had shared a story about your friend who passed away after sharing his brain didn't feel right. And it just had a huge impact. If you share that story, everybody will understand why you wanted to focus on the brain for this specific base hits.
Well, there are a number of things that have been happening recently. One of my good friends, her father had the vaccine and he was dead within 24 hours um, from a brain hemorrhage. Um, I'm not recalling which story Mary Agnes is talking about. And that's a really good example of what happens in base hits, you know, because I just talk about things that I learned and and there are a lot of bullet points that are really remember to include, and I've got notes for that. I always do, but it's the elaborations that are what's frequent or what's right in the front of my awareness right now.
You
Uh,
know what it was, Dr. Tom? It was the friend of yours who's a doctor who shared his brain didn't feel right, and you suggested he get the Neural Zoomer Plus, and he didn't do it. And then, those things take hold, and then he was very ill, and you wanted to do a foundational program helping people understand brain health.
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Sorry.
you know, uh, I don't know how to not be impacted by that kind of thing. You can lead a horse to water, right? But you can't force him to drink. And for example, on the question that just came up, homozygous for DQ8, no question in my mind, I would wager $100 when she does the wheat zoomer is going to come back positive, even if she's been gluten free for 3 years, it's going to come back positive because this is a highly sensitive person to wheat. And unless she's been following my work and is taking E3 Advanced Plus or Wheat Rescue with every meal, the likelihood of contamination is high and her antibodies are still high to wheat. And I'd wager $100 on that. So it's difficult sometimes when you know there's something that you want to uh, relay to someone and they're, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about it. And then they don't take any action or they choose something else. Um, uh, I say this to my wife often. I don't want to be right about this. You know that I'll see someone and we meet someone and I'll make a comment later to my wife and say she's really got a problem with her thyroid and or we'll say, you might want to read my friend Isabella Wentz's book on thyroid function. And oh yeah, whatever. And they don't, so I don't want to be right about this. And then they, as Mary Agnes is talking about my friend, this doctor who just wasn't feeling right. And I said, do the Neural Zoomer Plus, do that test. It's the most comprehensive test that's out there looking for inflammation in the brain. He didn't do it. And then it wasn't too long after that, uh, he was diagnosed with dementia and he went down really, really quickly. So um, Blue Cross Blue Shield came out last year and said in 4 years, between 2013 and 2017, in 4 years, there was a 406% increase in the diagnosis of early Alzheimer's in the 30 to 45-year-old age bracket. 406% increase in 4 years. People don't understand that We are living in a very toxic world that's affecting our brains and affecting our body. And it's critically important, I think. This pandemic we have right now, it's important to take some measures to protect yourself. It's also critically important to understand what's been happening from the environmental pollution. And I don't mean the icebergs melting. I mean what you're breathing every day from the phthalates, chemicals used to mold plastic, that leach out of the plastic blinds on your windows. And in this room that I'm in right now, I'm looking at the desk lamp that's built of plastic because it's got the accordion kind of bendable thing and a plastic cover on it. And the light here that's shining on me, the stand holding lights, all plastic. These things outgas. The computer keys are plastic. They outgas minor amounts of phthalates into the air 24/7. But the industry says, no, there's no evidence that the amount of phthalates that leach out of plastic blinds or lamp covers or keyboards or stands is toxic to humans. And there's not. There's not. And that's how they got away with this. But this stuff is accumulative in your body. It accumulates over decades and decades. Now you got a problem. Now you've got so much inflammation in your brain, killing off brain cells, killing off brain cells, killing off brain cells. And it can, and just read the science. Indoor air pollution is so much worse in most areas than outdoor air pollution. And why? Because of the flame retardant chemicals in the sofa that you're sitting on that are outgassing, and in the down comforter and the blanket on your bed, or in your night garments, your pajamas. Flame retardant chemical, I've washed them 30 times. They still outgas chemicals. But I don't feel it, I don't smell it. It's not toxic to humans in those doses, but that stuff accumulates and accumulates until 20 years of this, 30 years of this. Now you got a problem. Now you've got recurrent miscarriages and nobody can figure out why. Or now you've got cancer, or now you've got brain deterioration, because and that's why we're talking about these different topics in base hits. I emphasize this in great detail there. Rhonda says, what was the name of the company that sells the tonic water? Fever Tree. Leanne responded, Fever Tree. Thanks, Leanne. Do you need a job? You want to help? Sarah says, is omega-6 that comes from organic avocado bad for you? No. Omega-6s are not bad for you. Excess amounts of omega-6s are bad for you. But we need some omega-6s. We need omega-3s more than we need omega-6s, and that's the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And there's a really simple pinprick test that tells you where you're at on that, which is critically important. You can go to brainbean.com and look up their omega test. It's critically important that you're in the right range for that. Sarah says, oh no, that's the omega-6. Kim says, where's the link to sign up? Mary Agnes, let's put the link in there to sign up. Thanks, Kim. You think we remember to do that? I'm sure it's there, but she'll put it in there now. Let's see. Okay, Sarah, your question on omega-6 came in 2 or 3 times. What would I do if my omega-6 is high and olive oil, avocado and olive oil is my only source of fat due to Crohn's disease, still in the healing process? Well, you easily could be flushing out omega-6 from your toxic load that may have accumulated in your liver, your kidneys, and your spleen. I mean, that's certainly possible. But so if your omega-6 is high and avocado and olive oil is your only source of fats, what's your omega-3? It's the ratio that's more important than just the omega-6. It's the ratio of the omega-3s to the omega-6s that's most important. Suli asks, is there a difference between the mRNA vaccine and the adenovirus vaccine and how they work in the body. Yeah, the huge differences, which is why Dr. Vojdani's article that we just gave you the link to shows, and they talk about it in the article. They talk about the history of vaccines and autoimmunity and what's so different about this new vaccine in autoimmunity. Antoinette says, hi, Dr. Tom, I arrived late tonight. Tom, my tongue burns every afternoon, sometimes even when I haven't had lunch. I'm gluten-free and have taken out corn and most grains. Any ideas about where I should look next? Tongue burning has a number of potential triggers, but I'm interested in why it's in the afternoon. What are you doing in the morning? Are you drinking?
Oh no, Dr. Tom froze. Let's just give him a minute to come back to us. As everyone knows, he's in Costa Rica, and sometimes the bandwidth from there isn't so great. So let's we'll just stay here for a minute, and if he doesn't come back in the next couple of minutes, I might actually play the video from the Base Hits program again for everybody. So if you haven't seen it, we definitely lost him. Well, I will say this to all of you. I'm Dr. Tom's marketing director, and this Base Hits program is very, very near and dear to all of our hearts. It's been a tremendously important part of Dr. Tom's educational series to his community. At his request, this session on brain health, which touches on anxiety, so many aspects of brain health, has been lowered for the first 100 people who sign up to be only $97. That's literally $25 a session with Dr. Tom for this. It's a group session, so you're not alone, but it's small. It tends to, like Dr. Tom was saying, you know, we often lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink, right? So getting people to invest $97 in their health is a tremendous hurdle. As a marketing director, I see it all the time. And so we've, you know, brought the price down from $197 to only $97. And, you know, we're really hoping that this helps those who really need to make this investment in themselves. And it's a real opportunity for you. Oh, I think we've got him. Okay, Dr. Tom, you're up.
Yeah.
I was talking about having lowered the price on Base Hits to only $97 for the first 100 people that sign up, which is $25 a session for this group mentorship. So
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for covering. You know, so as I was just talking about what do you do in the morning, there's these little parrots. They're about this big. They're green and yellow, beautiful colors, and they fly in packs of 50, 75, 100, and they fly around at this time in the evening. And they, like, some of them go into one tree and they're squawking away, and some go into another tree and they're squawking away, and then these go back over here. And it's like they're arguing as to where the family's going to sleep that night. And they were squawking outside my window. And I said, oh, the parrots are here. And then all of a sudden, boom, the power's gone. So I don't think the parrots did it, but in the midst of all of that joy of life and nature, if you will, all of a sudden, boom, power's gone. That's what healthcare is like. You know, you think you're on the right track, and then something just hits you upside of the head, and you say, where'd that come from? I thought, yeah, I was healthy, like this woman homozygous for DQ8. And if she does the Zoomer, it's going to come back positive. I'm sure it will. She said, well, wait a minute, I've been gluten-free for 3 years. There's deeper levels to understand. You know, you take a base hit, you go to the first step, you take a base hit, you go to the next step, and there's just deeper levels that you keep going to. Now, let's see. I'm gluten-free, haven't taken out corn, and have taken out corn and most grains. Any ideas about where I should look next? Yeah, the first thing I would say is what do you have in the morning? Are you a coffee drinker? And is there there's some trigger. Why is it in the afternoon is more important to me than your tongue is burning. Getting the tongue to stop burning is important, of course, but why is it in the afternoon? That's unusual. And if you find out why it's in the afternoon, you find the trigger that's causing all of this. Some patients where I've had this, it's been their microbiome is so far out of bounds. Often they have a high concentration of yeast in their gut. They may even have a little bit of a whitish color to their tongue, a coating on their tongue. That's fairly common. Burning tongue can be because of a B vitamin deficiency also. That's easy to check. Just do a metabolic profile and see what your B vitamin levels are. It also can be the oral microbiome. Is there anything going on? If you brush your teeth, do you bleed a little bit when you're rinsing the water out? There are a number of triggers that can set it off, but the first thing I want to know is why is it in the afternoon? Why is it in the afternoon? But so that you've got something you can walk away with today. If you have any type of GI distress, any gut problems, any constipation or diarrhea or bloating or cramping or well, you said you've got Crohn's, so you do have that. Then the first place I would look until I can find evidence of something else would be check your microbiome. Do the Biome FX. It's a stool analysis test that's the most comprehensive test that I've seen yet come out. It's on our website now, Biome F/X. And it comes a laboratory out of Denmark. And these guys are super sharp and they are being extremely competitive. They want to be the #1 lab in the world doing analysis of microbiomes. So their reports are excellent, extremely comprehensive, overwhelming for people to read the reports and see. But with a doctor who's trained to look at this stuff, you identify what the next steps are in your healing process. Hope that helps a little bit, Antoinette, at least where to start in looking at this. Maria says, wonderful, thank you, Dr. Tom. Luann says, my girlfriend of 45 years had grand mal seizure. Hospital can't find nothing wrong and sent her home. What causes them? Well, it would be interesting. I'm sure they've done some EEGs on her to measure her brainwave patterns. Does she have slow brainwave activity? If she does, that's a slam dunk for a wheat-related disorder. First thing I would do with seizures, the very first thing, I would do 2 tests. I would do the wheat zoomer and the neural zoomer plus. And there's a package on our website for those 2. You do, that's the first 2 tests I do with most people if I'm working with them, because it tells us so much information. There's something that is throwing your friend's electrical circuits out of balance. That's what a seizure is that, there's a nice brainwave pattern to our, if you've seen those sheets of paper with all these lines doing this, they're measuring different electrical currents in the brain. And I mean, it looks like Greek to try and read it if you're not trained, but you understand that there's these brainwave patterns. And something is throwing her brainwave patterns out of balance. So it's not that the seizures are the problem. You want to, of course, stop the seizures right away. But the question is, why are there seizures? And that's what you have to look for. I talk about them. I talk about seizures in my book, You Can Fix Your Brain. #1 in 7 categories on Amazon, including seizures. It was #1 for seizures because we explain where seizures come from often and how do you start investigating, eliminating the trigger for those seizures. Sue from Colorado, currently in Menlo Park, California, stumbled on this. I love your talks and learned so much. Thanks, Sue. Ann says it's a gorgeous day in California. Way to go. Todd says, how does one get rid of tinnitus? Really good question. It depends on what the trigger is. It can be, and in the book, You Can Fix Your Brain, Todd, I talk about this. And there are 4 categories that you have to look at with any health problem. 4 categories. Structure, then just go to Google and type in neck problems and tinnitus. And you'll see how sometimes fixing a neck problem reduces your tinnitus. So the first one is structure. The second one is biochemistry. And we all know that drugs and nutrition, foods, water, that has a great effect on any part of our body, including tinnitus. And sometimes tinnitus can be a B vitamin deficiency that will turn it around. Not very often, but that has been shown in the literature. The third category is electromagnetics. And Mary Agnes had the experience, I hope she won't mind my saying this, that she had tinnitus. And she got the Harmony necklace, which we'll put the link in here for you because it's such a cool necklace in terms of how it helps your health. It balances out your electromagnetic frequencies. And she put on that necklace and her tinnitus went away. So it can be electromagnetic that triggers it. It could be the alarm clock next to your bed is leaking EMFs and the alarm clock's right next to your brain, next to your pillow. That could be the trigger. Turn off the wireless at night. We have a whole checklist of things you do to reduce EMF poisoning, and it's in my book, You Can Fix Your Brain. Or it could be spiritual, emotional. It could be something emotional. If you're in a bad relationship or something that's causing you great stress, you produce these stress hormones, which can be a initiating trigger for tinnitus. So there are 4 categories you have to look at: mechanics, biochemical, electromagnetic, and emotional or spiritual. And you have to, and that's what Base Hits is all about, is learning how to think and investigate what is it I need to do to be healthier? Learning all of these different topics. So what do I have to do to be healthier? Let's see. Cynthia says, is the NeuroZoomer available to Canadians? Yes, it is, but you want the NeuroZoomer Plus. The NeuroZoomer looks at 8 markers. The NeuroZoomer Plus looks at 48. You want the NeuroZoomer Plus. Kim asked, will the NeuroZoomer show which specific toxins are in the brain or just the current condition? Well, it's the NeuroZoomer Plus, and it tells you where the inflammation in the brain is coming from. It will tell you, it looks at cytomegaloviruses, Epstein-Barr viruses, herpes viruses. It doesn't look at, it looks at staph, so some bacterial infections. It doesn't tell you about chemical toxins. No, it does not. Not that one, but it looks at other triggers, 48 different triggers of inflammation total. It's a great, great test. Let's see. Cynthia says, where does the sniff test help detect? Oh, that's a really good question. There are 17 studies that identify preclinical Alzheimer's is accurately identified on a smell test. 17 studies. And when you go to theDr.com/smell, I put a video there that explains this whole concept of why everyone should do the smell test, especially middle-aged and senior people. But now with the Blue Cross Blue Shield thing about early Alzheimer's, every adult should do the smell test. It's so simple and it's so inexpensive to do. And you discover that there are 12 different scents. Well, let me see. I think I've got one right here and I can show you in my computer bag. Do I have one here? I do. I'm so proud of this test because it's helped so many people and to get them on the right track. So here it is. And what you do is it's like a lottery ticket. You scratch this with a coin and you smell it. And it asks, is this tomato, menthol, strawberry, or licorice? And then you mark in the blue section here your answer. Then you turn the page, scratch again, and is it cherry, honey, lime, or whiskey? And you answer it in the yellow box there. Then you turn the page and you do the next one, and there's 12 pages. And at the end, here's the answers. So you just check it yourself. And if you score 10 or above correct, don't worry about it, you're fine. If you score 9 or below correct, you got a problem. It's called hyposmia, meaning you're losing your sense of smell. And there are 17 studies that talk about losing your sense of smell as a preclinical indicator of early Alzheimer's. Now, well, I don't want to know that. Why would I do that? Because if you don't do this, you're going to keep doing what you've been doing that's caused the problem that's developing in you. And if this comes back positive, you go, whoa, I need to look into this. Yes, you do. And then you'll identify where are the triggers that are setting off this inflammation. That's because this is not a test of your nose. This is a test of the memory center in your brain. The nerves of smell, the olfactory nerves, are the only nerves in the body that go directly into the brain with no screen, no filter, no synapses that inhibit nothing. Why? Because your sense of smell is a life-saving mechanism for your ancestors. And we still carry that skill. We haven't developed it. Our sense of smell is not very good, but it was life-saving for our ancestors. So the smell had to get back there really quick, uninterrupted, to the memory center to say, saber-tooth tiger, get out of here, quick. So everyone should do the smell test. And we'll put the link there for the smell test. Does air purifiers help with outgassing? Yes, absolutely. That's why when my daughter bought her new home, it was their first house. They have 2 kids, my 2 grandkids. It's 3 levels, and it had been just completely gutted and remodeled 4 or 5 years earlier, which is great. So everything's modern and new. But when I saw the videos, because I haven't been able to travel there, when I saw the videos, I saw the plastic chairs and the kitchen countertops, and it's a beautiful home, but so many things that I could see that I know are outgassing. And I saw, when I saw that, I said, honey, it's beautiful. What a beautiful, oh, look at that. Oh, what a great kitchen. Oh my God, look at that family room. Oh, how great. The kids can run all around it. That's great. I'm going to send you air filter so that you've got the cleanest air possible. I said, okay, Dad, thanks. So I sent them 3 air doctors, 1 for each floor, because my grandkids are not going to grow up breathing that crap that we're all exposed to, but I'm going to minimize their exposures as much as I can, right? So, air filtration systems are a critical component of a base hit, like tonic water, a base hit that you can do that will help. Yes, air filters help with outgassing. That's why you use them, is for the phthalates from the plastic blinds, the formaldehydes from the kitchen cabinets. If your cabinets are not solid wood, they're pressed board. Pressed board is soaked in formaldehyde, which outgasses for years into the air. You can't breathe it, you can't see it, you can't smell it, but you're inhaling it and it accumulates. Barbara says, I'm listening very carefully. Barb in Michigan. Okay, Barb, good for you. Now, do something about it, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what else. Shanquilla says, does Claritin contain gluten, and do you recommend any good antihistamines? I do not know if Claritin contains gluten. And antihistamines, quercetin. Quercetin is fabulous as an antihistamine. It's natural. It doesn't have side effects, and it works really well. Well, it's been over an hour. I mean, it just goes way too fast. I hope you folks are thinking about the base hits. Come join me for this. It's hard enough talking to a computer. It's nice to know when people are out there and you guys send me your hearts and your thumbs up and things, and it lets me know that I'm not talking to myself on a screen. But thank you so much for your time this evening. Come join us in Base Hits. Be one of the testimonials afterwards of wow, I learned so much. It validates it and helps others to say, well, all right, maybe I'll give that a try. Thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Dr. Tom, if it's okay with you, I'll do the video again so everybody who came on late can see the testimonials. What do you think?
You bet. You bet. Thank you so much for
All
that.
right, dear friend, you jump off and we'll do this without you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Good night.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to bring you all to the Base Hits program so that you can, oh, sorry, hold on a second. There's a trick to it. Hold on, share screen, share sound. That's the trick. And I'm just going to go to the Base Hits program. And I'm going to enlarge the video and I'm just going to play it for you and then we'll end.
Hello, it's Dr. Tom. During this crisis time, I'm not traveling, and so all of my talks have been either rescheduled or just canceled for now. And until we get up and running again, I've been doing more webinars and, of course, our Facebook Lives and our coffees with Dr. Tom, and people have so many good questions. And they're really, some of them are in-depth questions, and there's no time to answer them in an event like that. So I'm going to do a 4-week small group, intimate discussion. I'm going to talk about the 4 topics that I consider are most important, and we're setting it up so that I can answer your questions in detail so that you're really clear, because most of you have heard on these topics before, but you've got some areas that are roadblocks or you're not quite getting the benefits. So we're going to do this over 4 weeks. So I'd like to invite you to join us. Come on aboard. Let's do this together. And hopefully it moves you, accelerates you on your goals to higher qualities of health. Thanks so much.
I met Dr. Tom back in 2008 at an all-day seminar on autoimmunity and gluten. And he was so incredibly convincing that I have been gluten-free for 12 years. And to give you a little bit of background, I'm full-blooded Italian and I grew up in a bakery. So that was not easy. But having 2 grandmothers that suffered so profoundly with rheumatoid arthritis, one of them having been bedridden after 60, I know that my health destiny has changed because I met Dr. Tom. Now, I've also been a health coach for 20 years, and the class Base Hits, I could not recommend any higher than a class that teaches people the foundations. And if you don't know Dr. Tom, you will soon find out that he has an incredible talent for translating complex scientific information into understandable ideas. But the pearl is that he takes these ideas and makes them actionable into simple tips that anybody can incorporate into their lifestyle. Anybody who wants to elevate their health or level of well-being, it's really something that will change your health destiny. So I could not recommend the class anymore or any higher.
I discovered Dr. Tom on my health journey. I've been on a 25-year health journey, and I've made baby steps, but I go backward a lot. And I try things, but nothing seems to change or shift. And I started listening to Dr. Tom because of the gluten-free issue. And then more and more I was listening to Dr. Tom, and I was really enamored with the fact that, like it was said before, that he can take a very complex issue and he can make it doable, and he can make it easy for me to add baby steps, what he called base hits, to my life. And I've added quite a few of them. And then during the COVID opportunity to stay home, I really started incorporating those base hits. And so I'm actually lucky enough to be on the LPS clinical trial. And I wanted to do this as an addition and to learn more. So that's really where I am. My name is Jacqueline Whitehorn. I live in Big Fork, Montana. And I am just so excited to have an opportunity to tell you, thank you, Dr. Tom. He's so incredible. And I'm just so excited because, you know, I just had the opportunity to keep trying to make myself better and healthier. And for the first time, I actually think there's a chance. I've been kind of hanging on by my fingernails to feel better and to do better. But it's just, I haven't really had the hope that it's going to change. And for the first time in my 25-year health journey, I'm over 25, but since my health shifted 25 years ago, for the first time, I really do think, I know that I can be better. I know that my health will shift. And I know that with this process, I'm learning so much about the body and what I could do to make my body better. And I'm just grateful. I am so grateful for all this. And I share it with my family, share it with friends. And it's just so easy to share because he's given me the words to make things different, to make things easier for people to understand. So again, I thank you, Dr. Tom. I thank you for this opportunity. And I would recommend this class to anyone, any of Dr. Tom's classes actually, because it's all a stepping stone to better health and wellness. I thank you.
My name is Brett. I took Dr. Tom's course. It was really, really informative. I'm actually very knowledgeable, and there were quite a few things I learned that I didn't know. And there were several aha moments where I said, wow, that kind of explains things that, why certain things happen, why certain conditions, or stuff that I've had in the past, why those things happened. That have always been a mystery, and I've gone to some pretty well-known holistic doctors, and in just one sentence, Dr. Tom just explained it. So there's no price on health. If you don't have health, you really don't have anything. So I would highly recommend taking the course and learning from somebody who I've actually followed for quite a number of years, who I think is among the top. So I highly recommend it.
So thank you, everybody. I want to encourage all of you to sign up. The first 100 people who take base hits are getting it at this really, really special discount, special savings, right? Because we're saving our lives. We're not discounting our lives. Just a quick note, if the person's on who asked about Zoomer tests to Canada, our clinical services director, Michelle Ross, texted me back. I asked her the question. Yes, these are available in Canada. You have to pay for shipping to and from your address in Canada. Vibrant will mail you the kit directly and include the international shipping back to the lab. One of our clinical service team members will look up each order by address so that we can help you through this process. So you'll actually need to email clinical services from Dr. Tom's website to accomplish this. So I hope this has been really helpful to everybody. I'm so grateful that I was able to participate this evening and facilitate and produce this very special Facebook Live where Dr. Tom walked you through some of why Base Hits is one of our stellar programs to help change humanity with Dr. Tom's amazing breadth of knowledge and deep caring. So thank you so much for being here and have a great evening.